Throughout most of Genshin Impact, it's made pretty clear who the main villains are. You have the Abyss, Celestia, and the Cryo Archon with a band of Fatui. While the Abyss and to a lesser degree Celestia have been involved with certain events, the Fatui have been far more active and is present in pretty much every major conflict we have seen across 4 regions now. Most of this has been implied to be at the direction and plan of the Saritsa. But what if there's another person who is orchestrating all of this? Someone who is hiding in plain sight under the shadow of the Cryo Archon herself. Before we get into that, if you want to see more Genshin Impact content, do consider subscribing to the channel. The Fatui are a rather prolific group hailing from Snezhnaya and claim to be formed purely for diplomatic reasons. Despite this claim, they have a rather large military force, one of, if not the largest in all of Tevat. The main military force of the Fatui operate directly under the command of the Saritsa, who disseminates her power and authority to her 11 harbingers, each leading a particular division within the Fatui. Their main objective is to accomplish the long-standing goal of the Saritsa, which in some form involves waging war against Celestia. What she aims to achieve with this hasn't been outright stated at this point. While the Fatui are said to take instructions from the Saritsa, what we have mostly been shown is that the Fatui have largely been coordinated and instructed by the Harbingers. These Harbingers are in turn led by Piero, or better known by his codename, the Jester. The Jester was said to be the very first Fatui, and he personally recruited several of the Harbingers. He was the one who persuaded Scaramouche to join, he was the one to sort out the Doctor, and he was also the one to convince Signora that they had a common goal. It's obvious he has been rather involved with the group, and his influence and authority over the Fatui cannot be understated, but we'll get back to him in a little while. For now, let's talk a little bit more about the Saritsa. For a while now, the main narrative surrounding the Saritsa is that she wishes to wage a war against Celestia. It isn't revealed why she's doing this, and what's more, we have no idea what she even aims to accomplish. Because we don't know what the Saritsa's true motivations are, her motives are difficult to discern, and rationalizing why she wants this war is difficult, at least for the moment. The leader of the Fatui, however, is a whole other story. Now, why am I implying that Piero might be the puppet master behind the scenes? It's mostly because, given the little we know about him, every detail we are aware of seems to give him very clear motives as to wanting a war with Celestia. Firstly, we know for a fact that he is from Khaenri'ah. Not only that, he was originally a royal mage, a title likely given to someone of high societal standing. In the Pale Flame artifact lore, the Mocking Mask tells the story of how and why Piero adopted the name Jester. It mentions that Piero had failed to earn the trust and favor of the last king of Khaenri'ah, and because of this also failed in preventing them from drawing the attention of the divine, supposedly Celestia. He mentions a veil of sin which Khaenri'ah had unraveled, and this is what presumably drew the attention and the ire of the gods. This is likely referencing the truth about Celestia, which they likely don't want other people to know, but I'm paraphrasing here, so I might be wrong. In any case, after these failures, Piero grew resentful of the divine, likely at himself as well, due to having a part to play in the destruction of Khaenri'ah. And this is why he dons the name of Jester, as he views himself the fool and laughs in the face of destiny, wanting to change how all of this works. Now, at the end of this, he claims that only the Saritsa understands his pain and why he devoted himself to her. But having seen a ruler, his previous king, make such a foolish mistake, would he really allow it to happen yet another time by following yet another leader, this time being the Saritsa? While the artifact talks about him devoting himself to the Saritsa, I can't help but wonder if he is just using her. After all, we do know he deeply resents the divine and how the world works, so why would the Saritsa be an exception? But given his position and implied strength, why would he even need to manipulate an Archon in the first place? While Piero is said to have also been friends or at least knows the Traveler's sibling, indicating that he likely was alive around the same time as Dainsleif. Considering that most Khaenri'ah citizens became monsterified after the Cataclysm, but Piero hasn't, he must have the same immortal curse Dainsleif suffers from and has likely been around for a very long time. Now, while it appears that Piero's anger is with Celestia, in truth, it's actually with destiny or fate itself, and this was mentioned in the artifact lore as well. He essentially hates not only the gods, but the entire system that exists to determine the fates of people. We learn from 3.3 that changing Tevat's fate is near impossible and only a god stands even a slim chance. So perhaps Piero saw an opportunity with the Saritsa to gain a chance at getting his revenge. He could likely have subtly manipulated her into developing a similar hatred towards Celestia and instigate this entire conflict. So, given his motivations for wanting to get revenge on Celestia, the complete upheaval of the current system or the way the world works, and likely to redeem himself from his past failures, it seems as though Piero, at least for this moment, has more reason to want this war to happen compared to the Saritsa. And this is why he might likely be the hidden hand in all of this. We also know that the current Cryo Archon was deeply shaken by what had happened during the Cataclysm, and perhaps after meeting Piero, he saw how he could manipulate her PTSD to his benefit. After all, he did need a god to accomplish his goals of changing Tevat's fate. Now keep in mind, this is really still just a theory. It's entirely possible that when they both met, the Saritsa and Piero really have the same goals, and this is just a mutually beneficial partnership. I'm not saying that this is the definitive story or anything, just that it's rather interesting that, as far as motives are concerned, Piero seems to have more reason than the Saritsa at this point. At the end of the day, there might be a practical reason for wanting the Saritsa to appear as misunderstood or even good. Perhaps it's just as simple as most summonable characters must be either good guys or tread the line between good and evil, like Tartaglia. The subversion of a villain into a protagonist, especially with the Archons, isn't something we haven't seen before. I personally don't really like this idea as I'm hoping to see some of the Archons as just flat out villains, or even allowing us to summon bad guys in the future, but the possibility does exist. As of this moment though, Piero is the person among the Fatui who has the most reasons to actually want a war with the Divine. As we still don't really know much about the Saritsa or even Piero, anything is likely, but he does seem to be the main contender for the main villain role at the moment. But we'll just have to wait and see if this turns out to be true. That does it for this video though. If you want to see more Genshin Impact content, do consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. As usual, have a nice day.